Next, let's talk about ITBM. One of the first things you'll notice when you're going through the VCAC interface is one of the tabs on the top is Business Management. And this is because ITBM is actually integrated with VCAC by default. Out of the box, you get ITBM standard with VCAC. Now, there are additional versions of ITBM you can get, and I've outlined the differences here. So, for instance, ITBM Advanced. What that does is it adds cloud cost comparisons and in depth dashboards for that kind of reporting. But even with just standard, it's pretty cool because using that integration across the whole platform, we actually get consistent cost information. So, me as a user, when I select a new workload, it's going to tell me this VM is going to cost you 20 bucks a day or $30 a month, right? A lot of times users, well, first of all, they don't understand there's costs associated with a workload or with running a virtual machine. So even if you're not doing chargeback, just using that showback model, having them understand the cost is huge, because maybe then they won't quadruple the CPUs they assign to a VM just because it sounds great. Oh, you support 16, that's great. Let me do that, right? Maybe they don't need that. Maybe they only need two. But they just chose the max because who doesn't like to, turn it up to 11, right? So they think the costing point in the integration here is really a big one, and it really helps out with displaying that kind of information back to users, but also reporting for the administrative side too. So it's very important to be able to understand the cost of your infrastructure, the cost of the running virtual machines. That's also critical. Now, again, not only does it display this chargeback or showback information within the blueprint item, but they also get utilization reports and costing. So, for instance, I could go into my managed items so I can see all the VMs that I've deployed, and I can actually get reporting on how much how much bill have I rung up over the last week or the last month, how much my VMs costing me, are there any inactive VMs, right? So it goes way beyond just providing a price or correlating a dollar value with running a workload. It really helps you understand your utilization rates and a lot of other practical information around virtual machines that you sometimes don't get if you think about traditional like ESXi and vCenter Server. This is kind of a new concept, right? You really never thought about this. A little bit in vCloud Directory you did, but not as much on the real financial or cost comparisons. You definitely never did cloud cost comparisons, which, by the way, is a huge feature of Advanced. Being able to look at the cost across private cloud and AWS and VCHS and whatever cloud provider you want to throw in there, it's going to do a cost comparison and show you where it costs $100 to run or $200 to run, the different resources and the different functions they support. So it's really a cool feature. And lastly, this information is not only useful for all the reasons we just talked about, but it's also good for capacity planning. Right? Think about it this way. If I know that I'm using up virtual machines or storage or networking at a certain rate per month, I can actually better forecast as an administrator or a infrastructure owner and order hardware ahead of the demand. So I'm actually putting myself into a place where I can better respond to demand that's coming up rather than reactive where someone says I need, VM 101. Well, that just says, well, I can't do that because my storage array is out of space. I got to call my vendor and order another shelf of disks. Whereas in this model, you get a much more predictable pattern of cost and also allows you to plan for capacity and forecast because we have this rich set of data.